well, this is it. This is the week where it all ends. Attack on Titan, the final season, the final chapters, or the Attack on Titan, the final season, part 4, as I've seen some of the sources call it, is coming out this week. I'm so excited. Hello, my name is Israel King, and welcome to the Otaku Experience. Now, you guys might be wondering, Israel, where have you been the past couple weeks? If you don't follow me on Twitter, you should. I made a tweet where I was talking about, hey, I just kind of needed a little bit of a break. And I still got questions asking, like, what the heck is going on? This is why, guys. This is why. You should follow me on Twitter. No TOE again this week, enjoying a break, and then we'll hit it hard when I come back. Also, nothing major has happened anyways. That was partially talking about the stories that have come out, like there's nothing major in the news cycle that's been coming out, and also partially that is nothing in my life bad has happened. It was just a break. I was feeling a little bit burnt out. If you want a little bit more context as to maybe why, because I'm not going to go into that here, you can check out my main channel, Kingtanic, and the latest video on there talks a little bit about my mental state that I've kind of been in the past few months. But anyways, getting back into this, Attack on Titan, the final season, the final chapter, Chapter 2, airs this Saturday. And I'm so excited. This has been a journey that has been, for people who have been watching it since it's aired, it's been a 10-year journey. But for me, this has been a 3-year journey because I started it in 2021 and it's almost 2024 now. And so this is still for me, this is still 3 freaking years building up to this. And I can only imagine, for other people who've been watching this forever and stayed away from the manga, how climactic this is going to be. I still do have my criticisms of the release schedule with this. I still think that the distribution of this season was awful. It was just bad. It was garbage. And it does scare me because of how high profile Attack on Titan is. I have made this clear before, maybe not on the Otaku Experience, but definitely on my Attack on Titan reviews and stuff on my main channel, where I've talked about I'm scared that this is going to set a precedent in what is going on in the anime industry, where if people are like, hey, look at that, they split that one season that could have been 28 episodes, 30 episodes, they split that over the course of 4 years, and it's we should do that too. And no, don't, please. That's my only thing. The quality of this season has been amazing. This has been my favorite season of the show so far. MAPPA, who, while, yes, they've been in kind of a lot of controversy lately with all of the production mishaps and all the buffoonery that's been going on over there coming out recently, and a lot of animators speaking out about it, I still do think that they have released a quality product and a quality anime, and I'm just so excited to see the ending. I mean, I've read the final chapter because I was I'm not going to get spoiled. I'll read it for myself. And so I read the final chapter. And I know that there's a big controversy with the ending. And don't worry, we're not going to talk about any spoilers here until after this thing airs. And then you can best believe that the Sunday episode is all about Attack on Titan, bro. But the ending to me, once again, no spoilers, was 70% of what I expected. I talked to a friend on about this before I read it. I was I think that this and this and this is going to happen. I think that this is going to happen. And then I even predicted what the final shot of the manga would be. And then when I went and read the manga, I was 70% right. I was wrong in some things, and I'm not even going to say what I was wrong about without explaining it. I'm not even going to say I was wrong about this character dying. I'm not even going to say that, because then people will be oh, well, then this person doesn't die, or they do die, or whatever. And I don't want to lead you to make any conclusions or whatever. I'm not going to allude to that at all. But I just will say that for me, I know a lot of people didn't like the ending. For me, I thought it was a very fitting conclusion, and I can see a sequel potentially in the future. I still think that it ends it fine. You don't need to have any more after this. But I think it leaves an interesting, not as long, not as epic, whatever. But I think it leaves an interesting doorway into a potential really short manga series after that. Maybe just like a few chapters, a few dozen chapters, maybe even like, at most like 100 chapters, but nowhere near the scale of Attack on Titan. And I think that'd be great. But once again, that doesn't need to happen, but I do enjoy the way that Isayama did that. But anyways, going back into what is going on this week with Attack on Titan ending, they have started the major countdown. They did this, I believe, earlier this week or maybe even at the end of last week. I think they started at 10 days and they've been working down since. And so I think now they have a live stream going and I have it here. It's now 1 day, 22 hours and 43 minutes until Attack on Titan, the final season, airs. Oh, I'm so excited. So this chat is still going crazy. I don't know what is going on here, especially since there's only like 730 people in here. But anyways, very, very exciting. And they've been doing this thing, every day for the past like few days where they release like a piece of artwork with a character or maybe with like a fan thing or whatever with different art styles. And they're like 10 days, 8 days, 5 days, and it's super epic and it's been super fun to see this. They also released the final trailer for Attack on Titan, the final season, part 4. And we get to see just a lot of the climactic stuff that's going to be happening. Basically this entire they officially released the runtime. This is going to be 80 minutes, I believe. Taking out the potential opening and ending, that's 3 minutes. So this is going to be about a 75, 77 minute episode, which is really, really cool. And so what I'm predicting, especially having read the ending, I'm predicting that about an hour of this is actually just all going to be this one battle, basically. And then, the last 10 to 15 minutes is going to be almost like just a wrap up, almost like Return of the King, where they wrap up all the plot lines, they give conclusions to the characters, and then, you see what the world is like after everything that has happened. And so that's kind of my prediction, is that I'm glad it's not going to feel rushed, I don't think. And then I think we're also going to get a lot of action. And I saw this as well, that they were talking about how much action was in this, which is part of the reasons why this season has had to have such big production breaks, where they can take longer to make the next part, just because of how much what did I say? Because of the sheer quantity of the action that's in there. And that leads me to, so this was a great trailer. I really thought it was awesome. End of the world vibes. The animation's still great. Voice acting, it's just the pinnacle of everything that we've seen. But that leads me to this quote from Isayama, where he said this regarding the final episode. It's been 10 years since the TV anime started. Thank you very much for sticking with us throughout all that time. The climax scene that happens in the last half of the final season was very hard to draw in the original manga, as well. So I couldn't help but think this is going to be rough for MAPPA. MAPPA is probably thinking, please stop. I'm sorry, MAPPA. I'm really sorry. Even then, I'm very excited to see how it will turn out in the anime. Also, this time, by my request, I got to draw a little bit of the rough draft toward the end. Please watch until the end. So that makes me think that there's probably maybe like an end credit scene or new special artwork or something, maybe something that wasn't in the manga. I've noticed that there are some people saying, in some of the comments down here in more of these replies, whatever, people are like, maybe this means a better ending by a rough draft. I like the ending. Boo-hoo. But it's just really, it's really surreal, even for someone like me who hasn't been watching, the entirety, or hasn't been there since the very beginning of when it aired. But I have seen everything. I've caught up, but I haven't been watching it as it aired. I had to binge it all. Even still, for me, I'm still like, it's over. Like it's about to end. Attack on Titan's gonna be over, and it'll just be weird to. Because it doesn't happen so often where you have an anime at this colossal size actually end. A lot of these animes just keep going, or they get canceled before they can finish. But Attack on Titan is one of those few that has already established itself as like one of like the classics of anime, and it's actually going to end still at such this high level bar where the budget hasn't like, plummeted, the voice actors haven't left, it's just been great the entire way. And the story hasn't fumbled at all. The story's still great. And still like causing us to be like, what? Even after all these episodes. And so it's just really, really exciting. But yeah, bro, Attack on Titan, the final season, the final chapter, chapter 4, terrible title, terrible distribution with this final season, but it's finally ending. And I am so ecstatic to see what happens on Saturday. All right, so speaking of MAPPA and a lot of the stuff that's been going on with them over the past few months, at least publicly, where we know that all of this internal stuff has been going on for years now, but it's finally coming to light publicly, and animators are talking about it. We have more stuff going on. So Jujutsu Kaisen animator is really sorry for latest anime episode, and fans blame MAPPA. So this animator, Hokuto S, at least on Twitter, that's their name. So I assume that that's their name. They've been kind of just going on Twitter and just kind of like talking about like all the stuff that's been going on. Apparently, and I'm not caught up on this. I haven't watched much anime in my break. I just kind of like took a full on like hiatus break. But season 2, episode 14, apparently was like a little under, the quality was a little less than what the average was for Attack on Titan, I'm guessing. And the quality kind of dipped a little. And so the fans, were like, hey, why is this mid? And I'm not trying to like, make this a funny thing, but that's like kind of how they talk. It's like, hey, why did this happen? Why is this bad? Like, why didn't y'all just delay the episode? Stuff like that. And so the animator kind of took this on themselves to talk about this, and we'll kind of go over these tweets and see what's going on here. My I want to do it gauge has a lot of stock and is easy to collect, but it's amazing that it can be used up in an instant and become negative. They take advantage of what I want to do for them, and when I push them to the point where they can no longer escape, I throw them away and say goodbye. And if the people I trusted continue to do it to me, I'm sure they'll vomit blood. So basically what they're saying here is that they're like, hey, yeah, I want to work hard. I want to make this anime, and I'm sure that means like they're going above and beyond, trying to do more than like the average animator there. But then the studio takes advantage of them and is like, oh, you want to keep doing it? Okay, great. Do all this, bad working conditions, this, overworked, not great breaks, things like that. And the studio is just kind of taking advantage of them, of the people who want to do more because they just love what they do, and forcing them to do more in such bad conditions. Then we have this. The former director gives up easily with the director who takes a certain amount of time and completes the work according to the schedule, and the director who perseveres and sticks to the schedule. I've heard that the latter was praised by the manufacturer for their efforts to improve quality, so I thought it would be quite difficult. And some of these, it is, just the autocorrect on here by Google, the auto translation. So, I'm sure some of these words are translating probably different from what the person originally meant. And so it is kind of causing the direct translation here that we have to be a little, maybe not a perfect one-to-one, but we still get the general idea here. And they said, I forgot to check it one after another. It's pathetic. The realization dawned on me, and I started to feel sadder than I expected. I'm going to cry. I feel like I'm hyperventilating due to stress. I feel an unprecedented sense of loss. I may not have been mentally prepared enough to do business like a business in the corner of the industry without saying anything big, and to die quietly without being mourned by anyone. I thought I was prepared for that, but maybe I just didn't have a sense of reality. Let's work to save money little by little, eat up the money we saved, and live by creating something only in our small world that's no longer allowed. Anyway, now that it's over, let's clean up the trash. Cutting my hair, shaving my beard, doing my laundry. I've been putting off so many things that I don't know what to do first to get my humanity back. Let me read that one again. Cutting my hair, shaving my beard, doing my laundry. I've been putting off so many things that I don't know what to do first to get my humanity back. And there could be a few things that they're referring to, or maybe all of them together combined. a mixture of things, if you will. So one thing would be obviously the production schedule. You know, you just don't have time to spend time at home to like kind of make sure your house is clean, to wash your clothes, to take care of yourself, stuff like that. But then also with all the tweets that we've read before, you know, this is over a series of a few days. They're probably not just in the best mental spot that even after they had a chance to take a breather, after the episode was out, after they had a chance to do that, they still didn't do it because of their awful mental state, and they still didn't take care of themselves. And that's kind of my belief, is that, you know, the schedule itself kind of made everything difficult to manage. Then after it was done, just being in that spot where they're blaming themselves for everything that's going on with the episode, and the awful working conditions, and just kind of beating themselves up for it. And as you saw in those tweets, just this awful mindset that you wouldn't really have much of an urge to like actually take care of yourself or do anything, because at that point, odds are you don't really think you're worth taking care of, even if you don't like consciously think like I'm not worth taking care of. You know, it's like more of a subconscious thing that kind of infects you and infects your actions. I can speak from experience. I've experienced this type of stuff before, where you enter that mindset and you just don't take care of yourself without even actually thinking, I don't take care of myself. And then we have one more tweet here that says, everyone is not trash like me, so I know that everyone's sympathy and encouragement must be from the bottom of their heart. But right after releasing something that I'm not satisfied with, that kind of thing will have the opposite effect. So for now, I want you to leave me alone. I'll make up for it in my future work. Until then, I will live my life as the worst animator who has ruined a masterpiece. And, you know, you have all these people in the comments who, you know, are like, yes, like this is great. We love you. And it happens in all of these tweets where these people are defending this person and trying to help. But this person is saying that they're not helping. Like they're like, this isn't me saying it, but this is me trying to get inside of the headspace of this person and what they might be thinking. So what I think they're thinking is, I messed up Jujutsu Kaisen. I messed up one of the greatest anime of all time. This is all my fault. And you guys saying that I'm great and that I did a great job and it's not my fault or whatever isn't helping, because it makes it feel like you're just saying things to make me feel better. And it's not actually helping, which is true. You know, when you're a kid, I'm not saying this person's a kid or anything, but like something I can think of is like when you're a kid and you're upset about something, your parents may try to console you or hug you or whatever, but you might not want them, you know, and so it compounds it and makes it worse. Sometimes you just want to be left alone, which is awful, but it's something that humans do. And so people have actually, you know, people have been cool. The Jujutsu Kaisen fans have kind of been cool for once, where they aren't, you know, being weird. They actually turned on MAPPA, which is interesting to say. So this comes to the point where we are at this article here. Originally, Sadamoto had hoped to stay under the radar by not being credited as an animator on Season 2, Episode 14. However, a leak revealed his involvement, and consequently led to fans criticizing his work on the episode. Sadamoto tweeted his apology on Twitter soon after the episode released on Thursday. The translated tweet reads, "I've done a job that no one would appreciate, and I'm sure I'll continue to do so. Sorry, I got mad at the leak, but I was just a coward in the first place because I tried to run away pretending to be a non-credit. I'm sorry." And this also goes to, I believe there was a leaked episode of Attack on Titan, or maybe a leak at something behind the scenes. Sadamoto revealed on Twitter that he had only 2 weeks to do 250 animation cuts for the episode, a huge undertaking for anyone, even a professional animator. This incident is the latest in a long list of mistreatment of employees in the animation industry, and MAPPA is no exception. The studio has also faced similar allegations in the past around the working conditions of animators working on Attack on Titan. While the initial backlash hit Sadamoto directly, many on Twitter have taken to defending the animator and the rest of the JJK animation team, while seeking to hold MAPPA accountable for the massive workload given to its employees. Jujutsu Kaisen is one of MAPPA's biggest hits, along with the wildly popular Attack on Titan. The first season of the series, adapted by Gege Akutami's manga, was released on October 3rd, 2020 to March 27th, 2021. And then they kind of go into what is going on here. And And so you see that the fans are actually, at first, it was like, oh, what the heck? This episode, why was it awful? Why did the animation not be as good as the rest? And then, then they remember this isn't the animator's fault. There are talented animators working here. This is the fault of the working conditions. And when I say MAPPA, I want you to think about this. When I say MAPPA, I'm not talking about every single person who works at MAPPA. I'm not talking about all of their anime. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people who create the working conditions, the people who create the anime schedules, basically all of the executives. I'm basically talking about them and their actions that they do that causes this type of stuff down below, because odds are they don't care about those people below them. They're just making us a product. We're going to release it and we're going to get the money. And they also want it to be, they want it to happen fast, they want it to be as cheap as possible, and then they want the most return from it. Those are their biggest priorities. And so that causes all of these people who are working on it to be forced inside of those conditions. And it's just not working out properly. And we've talked about this before, and what is, in my opinion, what is the fix for this? And it's just an entire restructuring of the anime production schedule. It's going to cost a little bit more money. It's going to cost, quite a bit more money, but you're going to have a better product and your fans will be happier and your workers will be happier to work for you. But they don't want to do it because, we just want to save money, yada, yada, yada. And we just want the biggest return and we want to do it as fast as possible. And yes, that's understandable. But at what point are you going to go in order to get that? Like, I get maybe they don't see these people, maybe they don't see the animators and whatever as like humans or as other people. They're just meat bags who make the stuff that makes them money. And so they're just like, let's just exploit that. Humans have been doing that since the dawn of humanity. But it has to change. It has to change. Whether that means these people just change because of the pressure, or these people get fired and new people come in and they start changing the thing going on. But I think it's going to take a massive restructuring, not just in MAPPA, but in the anime industry as a whole. And I hope that like what we're seeing in the American film production, TV production, media, that area, I hope that we start to see the same thing over here, where people begin to start unionizing. And I know it's already started. People have already tried to do that. People have already started trying to vote for that and rallying people behind them. But we haven't seen it happen in mass like we've started seeing it over here in the States, where, VFX workers and just employees of studios and all these things, they're creating different unions so that way they have more power to make sure that they are doing what they love in a better and more effective way, where they are still able to be human beings because they are human beings. But anyways, guys, that is what's going on here with MAPPA still. MAPPA still has not changed their ways, and I don't expect them to anytime soon. This is going to be a long, hard battle that the people who work on these anime are going to have to do. And all we can do as those of us who just enjoy the anime is support these people as best as we can. By watching the shows, by complimenting their work. You're not going to fix anything by just not watching the stuff. They'll just cancel the stuff and they'll just move to something else. That's not going to work. We have to force them to restructure everything, basically. Those are my thoughts on that. Well, y'all remember a couple years ago when the Cowboy Bebop live-action Netflix adaptation came out? I do too. No one liked it. Some people did, but no one liked it. But that brings us to this. So apparently the director of the anime of Cowboy Bebop wants to make a live-action version himself. And I assume this would be with an all-Japanese production. Here's what they say. Shinichiro Watanabe, the director and creator of the 1998 Cowboy Bebop anime, alongside Hajime Yatate, wants to create a live-action series. Watanabe recently ventured back into anime with MAPPA and Adult Swim to make the sci-fi Lazarus anime, which I'm very excited for. And has had his eye on a live action for a while. According to a new interview with the animation blog Full Frontal, released October 30th, 2023, I want to direct a live action, but I didn't really have any opportunities. Or rather, I had one, but it never happened. We didn't have money, didn't find actors. There were multiple reasons. But if I had another opportunity, I'd take it. I've always dreamt of doing live action, and at first, I really hesitated doing live action and animation. I ended up doing animation. And my dreams there have kind of come true. So now I just have live action left. Watanabe is open to talks immediately. He adds, I'd like to do something international. If there are any sponsors ready to fund it, please get in touch. Putting himself out there. This is really cool. And there's a little bit more down here, which we'll read in a second. But this is cool. I really appreciate what he's saying, because I get it. It's a smart approach. You couldn't decide between live action and animation, so I'll start with animation. I'll go animation. He did what he wanted to do. He said like his dreams have kind of come true there. He basically in his mind has succeeded in what he strived to do in animation. So now he's like, now I must go do live action and conquer there as well. And I think it's interesting that probably his biggest hit in the anime industry, he wants to do in live action. Maybe he thinks, because he also, the director and also the creator of the anime, he wants to, I think he feels like he has the best grasp on that. And that would be, an easy translation. And, we've had live action adaptations of Cowboy Bebop, most recently with the Netflix live action one. And so maybe he's thinking that with all the criticisms that the other live action adaptations have faced, maybe he's good. Or maybe now that he knows like all of the criticisms, he might be primed to do it the best by giving the audience what they've wanted based on their criticisms of the other ones, which is very, very interesting. If I were him, I can understand it. I can see his motivation, but if I were him, I'd probably try to do something else and create his own stuff. And especially in live action, I would not recommend hopping in to do something that scale that fast. Animation and live action are both very, very complicated art forms. They have some similarities, but they are both different from each other. A live action person can't just go and do an animation thing at such a high scale and do great at it. I mean, I'm sure some people can, but it's very, very unlikely. And the same is true for animation. They're just two different skill sets. One is not superior to the other. One is not more complicated than the other. They're equally complicated, just in their own separate ways. And to do something, and I admire him wanting to jump into live action. That's great. But trying to do something at that scale that Cowboy Bebop would be, I would personally like him to, get a little more experience under his belt in live action. So maybe doing some more just regular like dramas or comedies, something where you can just like get a feel for, you can't control everything like you can in animation. Like in live action, you are beholden to what your location is. I'm sure VFX can fix what it can, but there are a lot more limitations in the filming aspect, because with animation, you can put the camera wherever you want because there is no camera. And the camera is whatever the frame wants to be, so you have a lot more creativity there. With live action, you do have a little bit more of limits. So instead of just trying to jump into Cowboy Bebop, personally, I would be like, hey, try something a little smaller scale and then build up to Cowboy Bebop after maybe 2 or 3 projects. That would be my advice here. But the rest of the article says this. Watanabe also went into detail about his inspirations and being one of the first to collaborate with foreign artists in the interview. Naturally, Watanabe didn't discuss Netflix's live-action Cowboy Bebop series that premiered on November 16, 2021. He has been keen to distance himself from the series. Any possible live-action helm by Watanabe might likely see him reunite with Chad Stahelski, whom he has built a close working relationship and whose work appears in the Lazarus trailer. Shinichiro, and then they talk about everything down there. And so, yeah, I don't really have anything more to say after that. I can understand why he would stay away from, just bashing the live-action Cowboy Bebop series. I think the fact that he didn't discuss it means he did like it. I think if he liked it, he would have been like, yeah, it was great. I loved it. But then I feel like if he liked it, he also wouldn't be gunning to do his own version of it. Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting. Do you guys think that they should do a Cowboy Bebop live action? If anything, I'm surprised that with how old the anime is, this is 1998 to 1999. With how old this is, I'm surprised they haven't, rebooted already. And I'm sure they've tried, but maybe it just hadn't gone. I don't really know what the answer would be to that. But anyways, guys, those are my thoughts on that. What do you guys think about this? Let me know. All right, so one of the most high-regarded anime and manga of all time is Chihayafuru. And, this was a very popular manga that went from 2007 and just finished back in 2022 and had an anime adaptation as well that I believe went on for 3 seasons and a movie. So that's pretty darn cool. I have not seen it. I have not read it, but I've heard that it's fantastic. So that's great. Now, here's something that's interesting. there is a sequel manga of Chihayafuru coming in December. Like, why did we not hear about this? Publishing company Kodansha announced a sequel manga to Yuki Suetsugu's Chihayafuru manga on Wednesday, revealing an illustration, which is here. The sequel, titled Chihayafuru plus Kimi Gatame, is scheduled to begin on Belove's January 2024 issue on December 1st. Suetsugu serialized the original Chihayafuru manga in Belove magazine from December 2007 to August 2022. Kodansha shipped the 50th and final volume in December 2022. The manga has a cumulative 27 million copies of its volumes in circulation. Madhouse adapted the manga into 3 anime seasons in fall 2011, winter 2013, and fall 2019. Sentai Filmworks licensed all 3 seasons in North America and released them on home video in September 17th, March 18th, and July 2021. Kodansha USA licensed the manga in English in February. Yada, yada, yada. I don't care. This is interesting. One, simply because sequel mangas don't happen too much. Usually the manga will go and then they'll move on. Maybe they'll do a spinoff here or there, whatever. But sometimes we do get these sequels, and those are really, really interesting to see. I wonder if the anime will keep going, or maybe it'll reboot at some point. Because the manga ended in December 2022, but the final season of the anime aired in fall 2019, 2 years before. So obviously there's still room for like at least a final season in here just to finish what exists. And then now there is this sequel coming out. So it'll be interesting to see how the anime studio does this. It'll be interesting to see if, what am I about to say? It'll be interesting to see if like a new studio takes over, if Madhouse is like done with it and a new studio is like, hey, we'll take that off your hands, we'll finish the adaptation, and whether they reboot it or they continue it. It'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out in the coming months, years, weeks, however long this takes for us to get news on this. But it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out. All right, guys, we're going to move on into the audience rankings. We've missed a few weeks, but we're just going to hop right in as if nothing happened. And we have the anime trending audience rankings right here. So at number 1, we have Frieren Beyond Journey's End, which has spent 2 weeks at number 1, and it is also currently not only my anime of the season, but my anime of the year. So we'll see if they can keep that up. At number 2, we have Spy Family Season 2, which went up 1 spot from number 3. The Imminence in Shadow Season 2 went down 1 spot from number 2. The Apothecary Diaries is a new entry at number 4 because that started later than a lot of these other shows. The 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You has spent 2 weeks at number 5. I'm in Love with the Villainess drops down 2 spots from number 4 to number 6. Dr. Stone New World Part 2 went up 3 spots from number 10 to number 7. Undead Unluck went down 2 spots from number 6 to number 8. The Rising of S.H.I.E.L.D. Heroes Season 3 has spent 2 weeks at number 9. And The Vexations of a Shut-In Vampire Princess is a new entry into the top 10. So good job to all of you over there. But now it's time to move into your comments or questions from the last episode. And this is where I respond to them. If you guys want to get our comment or question on the next episode of the Otaku Experience, just hop into the comment section down below. Leave something there and I'll talk about it, whether it's in another 2 weeks or whether it's on Sunday. We'll see. So, starting things off here, we have Sam Fisher, who says, I loved My Happy Marriage and Undead Girl Murder Farce so much, I really hope both get a second season, and I'm loving Frieren, Spy X Family, Ancient Magus Bride, and Undead Unluck. I haven't started Spy Family just yet. Like I said, I haven't been watching anything. The only 2 anime I've been watching and keeping up with are Frieren and Arknights, because Frieren was my most anticipated anime of the season, and Arknights is the sequel to my anime of the year of last year. Spoiler alert, it's not as good, but I still like it. But yeah, My Happy Marriage I thought was a lot of fun. I didn't love it, but I thought it was cute. I thought it was a lot of fun. I have not seen Undead Girl Murder Farce, but I heard some good things about it, so I might check it out. But I'm glad you're enjoying a lot of the anime that's going on here. Explodium Leo says, buckle in, everybody. Explodium Leo has a lot to say. The segment about Netflix committing to reviving older IPs through live action was intriguing. I think that for television in general, viewers who have welcomed beloved characters into their homes week after week see them almost as old friends. So there is definitely an excitement to seeing them come to life, being made flesh and blood. At the moment, however, it's more like an overwhelming dread about whether we're witnessing said friends board the train wreck express. While One Piece managed to finally tap into a winning formula, it remains to be seen whether its success can be reproduced. And so, before we go on, I'll kind of respond throughout each paragraph. So this is in response to the Yu Yu Hakusho live action, kind of like, for lack of a better term, it just kind of became announced out of nowhere. Like I could be wrong, but I thought I remembered, like stuff coming out, back when like they were casting and stuff like that. But it seems like everybody like kind of forgot. And then this happened, like this big announcement after One Piece, and we were like, oh yeah, that's coming out in like December. And so that's interesting. And along with that, we saw that Netflix really wanted to do a lot of this for these classical anime that are these older stuff, which is we've seen with Cowboy Bebop, Death Note, One Piece now, and Yu Yu Hakusho coming in December. So it'll be interesting to see what they go to next. But yeah, I agree about we don't know if they're boarding the Trainwreck Express right now. They're like 1 for 5. So we'll see how they keep going here. We'll see if Yu Yu Hakusho is another success like One Piece or if it's a L like the other ones. From that era, Rob has probably seen and enjoyed. FYI, Yu Yu Hakusho was published between 1990 and 1994. For the uninitiated, that was when the medium veered from the muscular, leather-clad men shedding warm tears toward teenagers tackling the supernatural with reckless and enthusiasm. It still generally involved saving the day-by-day punchline, punching something though. I think. Well, I go off of this based off of, and I could be wrong, but I believe Space Battleship Yamato. Space Battleship Yamato aired. Okay, that was in the 70s. Okay, that was in the 70s. Okay, I'm sorry. But then there's also Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which aired when? But that was in the late 80s to the 90s. So I still got him, bro. But yeah, no, when I say this is like Rob's era, is like, I mean this to say that Rob has said this. Rob was there for more of the classical era of anime, and it doesn't really follow a lot of stuff that's happened, since the 2000s. Whereas that's like what a lot of the newer anime fans, such as myself, have been all involved in. And these older shows, we haven't really seen all that much, except for maybe those very, very few that are super, super popular and have stayed in those like must-watch anime categories. That doesn't mean they're not good, the shows that we haven't watched, but it just means that I think that was the era. Like Yu Yu Hakusho would have been part of that era. Doesn't mean that Rob watched it, but it would have been part of that era. Rob's era was more like the frickin' 70s, a simultaneously excessive and tastefully dubious golden age of storytelling that didn't shy away from starship, skin-tight spandex uniforms, and giant fighting fembots shooting out twin missile ordnance from the chest. For all the fun that we make of older properties, however, I do want to pontificate that it reflects an anime era when fully adult casts weren't uncommon, and that the types of stories that could be told as a result was also different. What this golden age lacked in comparison to today's graphical prowess and impactful cinematography, it made up with wonder that fired up the imagination. It spoke in turn of selfless heroism, of true love, and unyielding human spirit. But it did these things without any hint of cynicism, and in turn managed to convey an unadulterated sense of adventure, or what we colloquially refer to as the elusive magic of stories of film, etc. It's difficult to explain the aesthetic without seeing it for oneself, the good, the bad, and the definitely very, very ugly. Yes, I do agree. And this has kind of happened with film as well, where I think film nowadays, and I notice it the more I watch more classical stuff, is today's films, you can definitely tell films by the era. It feels like films today are like kind of all cut from the same cloth. Like okay, for example, the Lord of the Rings films versus the Hobbit films. Part of the same franchise, but you can tell they're very different in terms of the type of films that they are. Even though they're in the same universe, they have a lot of the same characters, they have a lot of the same themes, whatever. You can tell the approaches to film have changed, and you can see that across like the Star Wars prequels and the originals and the sequels. They're all made in different eras. And I think that happens with different eras where there are just different approaches that are made to these things, where right now we're in sort of this, TikTok social media wave. Things are a lot more flashy and they have to move a lot faster in order to not let people lose their attention. Whereas, and the reason I have Evangelion up here is because I've seen Evangelion, and that was in the 1990s, and I just wanted to make sure that I knew that before I started talking like out of my butt. Because if this was about to be like early 2000s, I was going to be like, ugh. But I have seen Evangelion, and yes, it is the same type of thing where it's not as flashy. The camera choices aren't as dynamic or whatever, but it does, like you said, that wonder, that fantasy, that type of stuff is there. I get that anime erudition isn't the focus of the otaku experience, but as a budding scholar of the medium, I think it'd be well worth your time to look back at where things have been to really understand where things are going. And if you do, you'll find that there's a good reason why both Rob and Lael are so fond of Space Battleship Yamato, and that is not because of nostalgia alone. I never said it was. I think that I just haven't seen it. There are people who are going to grow up and they will never watch what's a really big anime. They'll never watch, like, this is already happening. People don't watch Clannad anymore. Clannad is one of the classic anime. Like the first season, I can look at that like with nostalgia, but at the same time be like, it's not the greatest. The second season, though, is just one of the classic things ever, and people won't watch that in the future. And then there'll be people like me who are like, and people will say this of me, that it's just because of nostalgia. I've never said that of Rob and Lael. I've said that that Rob grew up in a different era, and those are just the types of shows that he watched, and he just didn't keep up with it going on because, a lot can happen in 20 years. You get more busy. I know that he worked in Hollywood for a long time, and he still does to an extent, that he still is busy and he doesn't have time to just watch these shows. I know that he still watches some of the stuff because we've talked about that, but he doesn't watch as much as he did when he was younger and in this younger state of anime. Sorry about the college essay. As you were talking, you just tapped into a thought I was having on the subject of old IPs. I do enjoy the new shorter format. It keeps things concise and timely, and it's a different vibe from the usual fare of the unmitigated Trekkie rage, certainly. But this is becoming one of my favorite shows on the channel. Aw, thank you. Always looking forward to the next one. Cheers. Oh, well, I'm sorry I disappointed you, because now it's been like 2 weeks. Oh, no. But no, this was awesome. You guys in the future, feel free to just write like an essay like this. This is a lot of fun. But yeah, no, I definitely like agree with like basically everything you're saying here. And it'll be very interesting to see how Netflix goes in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix like touches a space battleship, Yamato or something like that. That'd be very interesting to see if they can get the rights on it. And then we have Dat Marshy, who says, everyone shares information, everybody, except Netflix. Crunchyroll just made the mistake of not having that in the agreement. I typed something into Google, YouTube, everything, and I get ads for it. But that's not... Well, just because everything does that doesn't mean it's a good thing. Like the problem isn't that Crunchyroll shared the information. The problem is that Crunchyroll has in their agreement that they won't share information and then did it anyways. That was the problem, and that's a different thing. But yes, there are, plenty of websites still take your information. And yes, that's true. Master Teacher 101 says, file a class action lawsuit. I don't want to. It's boring. I'm good. At Rafael Chavez 5559, don't just want my anime. I'm not sure what that's referring to. Sorry about that. Freddie Lane 90001 says, woo, Animo. Yes, Animo. That is us on the Otaku Experience. We talk about Animo. But anyways, guys, those are all the comments from the last episode of the Otaku Experience. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, feel free to hop into the comment section on this one, and we can talk about all of those. But that being said, guys, that's going to do it for me. I will see you all on Sunday.